right, so I'm here in my room. I've got my computer on in front of me. I've got my microphone set up. There's a notepad open with some notes about my podcast. It's time to rewind. Looks like they're open to the 28th scene of Memento that starts in black and white at 58 minutes and 28 seconds, with Leonard questioning the drug angle on John G., and ends at 60 minutes and 8 seconds, with Leonard crossing out access to drugs and writing drug dealer on his note card. Hey, hang on. Who is this?
Bubba! It's Lisa Leaheey from Rabbit Hole Podcasts. You remember me. I host Between the Scares with Jason Soto.
Of course, although I prefer to be called Bubbawheat. And who are you?
Wait. Okay, so what am I doing? Okay, so I'm recording this guy? No. He's recording me? It's Mark Hofmeyer. How y'all doing?
Oh, welcome to the show. It's good to have you on.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry if I'm really repetitive this episode. I'm just going to keep forgetting. And it's not because I have anything affliction. I just have a horrible memory. So I apologize in advance for asking the same question over and over again.
Yeah, I think I talked about it in an earlier episode, but at least twice today I was, walking from one part of my store to the other while I was at work. And then about halfway to my office, I stopped and I had to give myself about 5 to 10 seconds to remember what I was going there for.
Yeah, there are several certainties in life. If I have to go upstairs to grab two things, I will forget one. I would say 95% of the time I forget at least one item of that. And ever since I had a kid, she's 18 months, and we're just so busy. If I don't do something immediately, it's gone. Like, it's in the ether. I'm like the people after Thanos snaps. The memory goes to dust in my brain. But not this, though. I love this movie. This movie's been a part of my life for 20 plus years. So I think I can remember a couple scenes in 40-second clips. So I'm happy y'all have me.
Oh yeah, and you mentioned that, and I kind of forgot about it, but Mark, I have a daughter that's like less than a month apart from your.
Oh wow.
From your kid. Yeah, she's I think she's also 18 months, maybe 18 and a half.
It's amazing. I love it. She's the best. She slept on me yesterday, and then my cat slept on me. I had my cat Stella sleeping on me, and I had my daughter sleeping on me at the same time. And I was like, this is perfection.
That's life right there.
Yeah, it is. Living the dream. And then I have my other cat next to me on the couch. So I have all my critters and my babies sleeping next to me.
All the critters.
Listen, I have fur babies, y'all. I don't care. My cats are my kids. Yeah.
I don't have kids. I have cats.
Oh, well, listen, that's a full-time job. My cats are very demanding.
See, I mean, I could argue that I've got like 100 some odd kids because I'm a teacher. And I frankly have no excuse. I don't have the excuse that you guys have of like the memory not working, but the memory does not work. Like, I make a joke that we're going to get a goldfish to keep in my class and we're going to call it Lil Leahy because I mean, we had an incident a week and a half ago where I was convinced that an outline was due on March 9th. And an entire class is like, no, you told us the 16th. I said, no, there's no way. So I held. And the next day I saw the other class and they went, no, it's the 16th. I said, what are you guys trying to gaslight me here? Did the other class put you up to this? They still swear up and down that, no, I never said the 9th. And I'm thinking, I have no memory of any of this. It's completely gone. Why would I have said one date instead of another? Yeah, complete mess. And I don't even have an infant at home to blame. So I don't know how you guys are doing it.
This sounds like Black Swan 2 meets Dangerous Minds. What's going on with you?
Oh, my school is not quite Dangerous Minds. I'll definitely
Wait, you don't put a leather jacket on and teach them karate?
It wouldn't go with my skin tone. So no, the black leather jacket isn't going to count. Although it was funny because I played a game in my friend's class with her, and it was like basically who done it. It was like, is it either me or was it their teacher who had done one of these two things? And one of the things that came up was like regularly attends church, and they all went, well, it's definitely not Leahy. And I'm like, my mother would be so sad right now that you're saying this. They were right, it's not me. But they were like, no, we think you're like anti-establishment church stuff. And I was like, oh my God, my mother would be so upset. So apparently I portray the leather jacket persona. Who knows?
That's great.
Were you on a motor? Oh, so I will go.
Yeah, Bubbawheat, you got to be careful with the two of us. We go way off topic so easily.
I'll stay on. I promise you. I'll be good. This is your show. Editing's a
That's
tough
okay.
business.
We've got we've got you here for 3 weeks, and the first and third week there's not a whole lot going on in the scene, so there's plenty of room for tangents.
So what I'm hearing is you need us to fill space. Okay.
I will say, watching this, I started researching movie tattoos, like famous movie tattoos. And this is a true story. I was watching Ocean's 12, and there's a flashback scene where Rusty walks into his house, and he has a large hammerhead shark tattoo on his forearm.
Ooh.
And later on, he fills it in. It's a different tattoo because this is like a flashback. But I'm telling you, the next day I was like another shot of Jack Daniels away from going to the tattoo place and getting that hammerhead shark on my forearm. So I almost got a Brad Pitt, like an Ocean's 12 hammerhead shark. I've been obsessed with sharks forever. A hammerhead
Yeah, I was
shark
gonna say Deep Blue Sea, man.
tattoo on my forearm because of Ocean's 12, and then his Snatch tattoos with like the Last Supper and the cats with hats. Like Brad Pitt has some wonderful movie tattoos.
He definitely does.
And like Guy Pearce in this one, like I was tempted to just to type in, get some ink and type on my forearm to a reminder for tonight's episode. Like I was almost tempted to do that because I love the look of this character and just him sitting in here and writing down his notes. Like it's just so memorable, and I love this movie. I really do. And I started to do this, y'all. Have you seen Nolan try to explain this with kind of like the inverted horseshoe and then the different arrows and the different lines? Have you seen that?
No, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Nah.
Oh, so if you go online, just type in Christopher Nolan explaining Memento. And I showed it to my students once, and their eyes just glazed over. Like we're talking just, they melted. So if you ever just type in how to explain Memento and then Nolan doing it, if you pay attention, you get it, like most Nolan movies. But
it's 18 minutes long.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. He does this like, he does like a little horseshoe thing. He's like, well, these scenes are actually going like in reverse, but then the black and white scenes are going forward, and then they meet somewhere here, like around here. There's like the end is the middle, and my poor students just collapsed. But I love everything about this film. So thank you for having me on again, because I'm very happy.
How did you first come to this one?
Yeah.
Do you remember seeing it the first time?
Oh yeah. I took my mom and stepdad, and they hated it. Like it was painfully uncomfortable with them in the theater, but I just sat immersed in it because I think what I've learned with most Nolan films, and I'll even say this about Tenet, I'll say this about Prestige, he lays breadcrumbs everywhere. So if you just pay attention, if you're like Antonio Banderas from The 13th Warrior and you just listen, you can understand these films. Like you watch. When I watched Tenet, I was totally on board with it. People from the future battling, trying to stop the apocalypse. Some people are trying to cause it. Some people are trying to stop it. You watch The Prestige. You watch Inception. They explain everything. And so watching this movie, and then once I got on the flow of it, once I started figuring out where it was going and then where it meant at the end and the way he keeps recycling the victims and what he does to make himself have a mission and continue moving forward, I was like, oh. And I don't think I never became a super Nolan bro, but I've always loved him for taking these big swings. And I remember them hating the movie. Like they were pissed, but I absolutely adored it. I thought it was a really cool film. I bought the DVD. I explored it. I did everything I could to get into it. And it's been like a 22-year journey and just sort of keeping on watching this film. So I covered it on MFF, rediscovered it all again. It's a beautiful movie.
Yeah, that's something that I've definitely noticed, breaking this down into 45 sections like we're doing here, is that there is so many little breadcrumbs and little subtle hints sprinkled throughout the movie that you have to be watching very closely, but they really do call into question a lot of things and give hints to people's true to the character's true nature earlier than you expect.
Mm-hmm.
And that scene, am I chasing him? Is he chasing me?
My favorite scene.
Oh gosh, and Lara Flynn Boyle just crushing it. Like it's.
Wait, you mean
Laura?
Carrie-Anne Moss.
No.
Okay, wait. Who did I? Laura Ann Boyle.
Wrong 3-name girl. Wrong one.
Carrie-Anne. She's from like The Practice.
I go to Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Jeez Louise.
And Wayne's World.
Oh yeah. Hey
She's
Wayne.
the psycho hose beast.
Game on. Game. I told you I'd forget things during this episode, y'all. It's happening. This is real. It is going on right now. But I've also been a real big fan of Guy Pearce too. The Count of Monte Cristo, and Lockout is one of my all-time. I'm not going to call it a guilty pleasure. I'm going to call it an amazing pleasure.
Yeah.
Because it's a beautiful movie. And so watching where Guy Pearce is gone and just seeing him pop up in Hurt Locker and just The Road. Oh man. As a collector of books, I just got The Road, but my wife got like this really fancy edition of it from England. So I got a super fancy copy of The Road now. Just want to let you all know that.
Ooh, I'm very jealous.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's so nihilistic and brutal and bloody, and there's cannibals, which I love.
I mean, so obviously. It's everything that you need in a fantastic book.
But yeah, that was my very long answer of how Memento has been in my life. It's cool, and it just realizing the patterns in Nolan's films, right? Like all the dead wives. He just keeps going. Stop killing wives. Prestige. Prestige, there's two of them. And then in like what? Inception, there's
Inception,
one of them.
yep.
Dark Knight, one blows up. It's like, hey man, leave
blows up.
Like leave the women
That's
alone.
one way to put it.
Yeah. And so I love it. It's cool. It's great. It's great.
All right, well, yeah. Well, circling back to this scene, this scene starts with Leonard questioning his notes on this police report that he's digging through about how John G was an addict when they found, and we don't see this in this scene, but we did see it in the previous scene, that in the car they found 2 kilos of heroin and 15 ounces of marijuana. And my first question for you is, like, do you think that this is Teddy on the phone?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. I think, most people come to that conclusion. And one other thing that I haven't brought up yet, but I was just thinking about during this conversation. Do you think that Teddy's previous John G was a drug addict and not a dealer? And that's the reason why he has these notes about a drug addict is because that is, from Teddy's previous victim.
Oh, that's a great point, because you kind of think he's just using him to take out drug dealers or various ne'er-do-wells.
Yep. So that's my thinking.
I mean, I guess if you're dealing, you don't want to like get into your own supply. If you're supplying it, that's farting. Sorry. If you're, you don't want to like get into your supply. But I mean, his note is there and he did hear it. So, and he is quite studious with his notes.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really good question. So he had access to drugs and then he had all the kilos. I still think it was why would he be taking out a user? Why would Teddy want his kind of Scud missile killer to target a user, not a dealer?
Well, I think that it's an original thing. I think what Bubbawheat says is that there's something to it, because Teddy is sort of navigating, like you said, his own Scud missile. He's using Leonard to get to specific people. Mm-hmm. And, by targeting Jimmy now, Jimmy Grant's in this particular way, he's taking out somebody that causes some trouble. He's like, hey, it's actually a drug deal and we get the money and you get half. And, it ends up being this whole thing toward the end. But then when we look at the story full linear beginning to end, now Teddy's not there to sort of guide where Leonard is going. And so I talk to my students about it and I say, they make the comment, there's so many John G's and, James G's out there. And I point to a student in my class who was a James G. I'm like, oh, you're next. But this whole idea of, Leonard could, for all intents and purposes, target some, family man with 2 kids in a white picket fence house, who's just trying to get through life and work his job, never had so much as a parking ticket. And he could in some way twist his notes and eventually target somebody that isn't, a lawbreaker, somebody that, Teddy's got him going after these socially degenerate kinds of individuals that in his perception, nobody's going to miss. And I think it's especially interesting how he steers him. But now that he's not around anymore, who's to say where Leonard's going?
Oh, it's going to go very badly for
Definitely.
many people because – yeah, he'll steer himself in whatever direction it is just to keep himself moving forward. to keep that self-preservation. So yeah, he could go after a picket fence, have her.
Yeah.
Because what's stopping him, like Teddy at least was aiming him towards near-do-wells.
Right.
Now he could just go towards do-wells.
He could go after anybody who like catches his attention. I mean, all he has to do is be annoyed by the individual and he, can I make myself forget what you've just told me? Like he can really manipulate himself. And in the short story this is based on, you get a lot of suggestion that he has taken out more than just two people. And he has my students really struggle with it because they go, yeah, but he says this. And I said, yeah, who's to say that he's in the same state? Who's to say he's in the same county? You don't know where he's been because he doesn't know where he's been. And we have that same possibility here.
I think since the last time we talked, I did finally read the short story, and
nice.
I do think that it's fascinating, and it's a very different take on this type of story because there's not really, you don't really get the milestones, mm-hmm. and it is a much longer period of time because at the end you get this moment where he looks in the mirror and he doesn't recognize the person that he sees anymore because he's much older mm-hmm. than he thinks he is.
Oh.
Oh, it's a really cool story, Mark. You've got to check it out. Easily Googleable. It's real easy to find it.
I mean, even if it's hard to find, I'll look it up, Lisa. I'm a researcher.
To search.
Yeah, tell me it's hard. Point me. You should have not told me about it. Just given me clues, and then I could have slowly
left you some breadcrumbs.
Yeah, I could have slowly hunted my way there. You could have incepted the. Wait, are you in my brain right now? Are we in an airplane with the two of you in there? I haven't taught my subconscious how to battle y'all.
Look directly at me. Don't look at them. We're in a bar. It's just you and me. There's no. If you look at them, they recognize that you don't belong. You got to stay with me here.
Okay. Why is my hair dyed blonde? What's going on? Why did I bleach my hair?
Don't lift that bandage. We're blending our Nolan movies now.
Yeah. There was one other. Like, that also kind of led me down a little bit of a rabbit hole, thinking about, Teddy was steering him in one direction now, and now he's steering him in a different direction. Do you think that John G., like, that name itself, do you think that was tied to Teddy's first mark, or do you think that it actually was tied into the original police report?
Because everything's redacted, right? There's a lot of stuff that you don't see. So that's a problem with Nolan. It's like, is it not? Like some people think he's Sammy Jenkins when you glimpse him in the movie. I don't know if you ever saw him for like a frame.
I brought that up. Yeah. Yes.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, I usually wait till the last episode that I have a guest on, but I've been asking pretty much everybody their thoughts on that.
Yeah, and it's just Nolan, right? Like, he likes to have the top spinning. He likes to have that.
Yes.
So, I mean, John G., I feel like he's gone after along. Like, it's like the attacker's name is this. I mean, but he could have gotten that a kill ago or 2 kills ago because he has the tattoos. But also, Joey Pants.
And he keeps saying that, the police were never looking for another guy because they thought that there was just the one attacker.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Because they only found the one gun and then his gun.
I'm not good with hypotheticals. I'm good with I take very concrete things and expand upon them. But I like thinking that, I mean, this is the name. So I think he just keeps going after those types of people, I would say. I mean, John Gamble, maybe that accidentally slipped one time and that's what he's going after. And now he's kind of with him. Jeez,
also probably why he refers it. I mean, he says, call him Teddy, and he says, I'm undercover. I mean, it could very well be because he now realizes that he's looking for John G, and he's like, crap.
Yeah.
He even tells him.
Yeah, like, I'm Teddy. And so you don't want him because if he knows he's looking for John G, then he figures out that he's John G, and then he gets the tattoo, whatever. But like, he probably wants to hide that. And I think maybe he had the John G, but that's such a coincidence. I just melt thinking about those kind of things. I
love it.
It's, yeah. I don't know. I'd rather drink a beer with spit in it than try to figure out the whole plot of this. Because Well, what do y'all think?
About which question? We've gone through a few in these last couple of minutes.
I go through. That's me. Like, how long has John G been around?
I mean, me thinking about it as I was kind of going through this, I do think that John G was something that was planted by Teddy and did not have anything to do with the original assailant. I think that that was, we don't know how many marks that Teddy has sent Leonard through, but if I had to guess, I would say, it could be as many as like 5 or 6 different people that Teddy has gotten Leonard to kill or take care of in one way or the other.
At this point, though, it is now fact because it's tattooed on him. Like he only tattoos the concrete facts. So, he's never going after anybody named Roger at this point.
It's only just John G's.
Yep. And James G's.
Oh, yeah. JG.
Because the James goes through, too, because I think it says, I think there's an or James or something on that.
Yeah, it's
John G or James G.
Yeah, the James is in a different font, so it was added later.
So many cool notes. Not Nolan, Jonathan and Chris Nolan. I think Jonathan got a little away from himself with Westworld, but I love what these two can bring together.
So good.
Yeah, and no wonder this is number 54 on IMDb and was nominated for an Oscar.
Yeah, and again, going back to stuff that we actually see in this scene, this is the first time I'm pretty sure that we see him cross out anything.
Yeah.
And that's a very important thing because before now, this was fact. This was something that he was ready to tattoo himself as ironclad tattoo-worthy fact. And in just the course of 40 seconds, we see that he's able to change his mind, and now he has a brand new fact. And this is now the new ironclad fact, and he is ready to tattoo it like immediately after writing this down.
And yeah, because he was going to tattoo the other fact. Do you think that's Teddy manipulating him towards that because he knows like access to drugs and then drug dealer? Like, do you think he's like, oh crap, I need to call him back?
I do. I think because he knows that he's able to reset Leonard when he hangs up the phone and calls back.
Oh, Teddy. It's only Joey Pants could do this.
He's so good.
Even though we never actually hear him in these black and white scenes either.
Right.
Because I don't think he's talking. Yeah. No, you're right. But we know it's Teddy, right?
I mean, we know it's Teddy in the final sequence of the film because he says, oh, you're out in the lobby, I'll come meet you. Like, so you sort of have to, a little continuity here. Who else would it be? It's when you start really grasping at straws.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing is we're not really presented with any other characters.
Right.
I think the only possibility that it even could be is maybe it could be Jimmy Grant's.
True. I mean, it could be Bert because, he's there and he calls him and not something.
Yeah, but he wouldn't have any interest in what's going on.
He'd have no stake in this.
Right.
So wait, Mark Boone Jr. is just sort of gaslighting poor Leonard.
Oh yeah, he's making him. He rents more than one room.
Yeah, exactly. How many rooms do I rent? Oh,
in this just 2 so far.
Yeah, so far.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the best.
Oh yeah, they put together a cast for this movie too, like Harriet Sansom Harris, Stephen Tobolowsky, Guy Pearce, Carrie Ann.
Yes.
Not the other one I said, but Carrie Ann Moss. I don't even remember the name I said earlier.
You said Lara Flynn Boyle.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and this was right after The Matrix too.
Oh yeah, 2099. He's just bringing in all the Matrix people. What if it was Keanu as Leonard?
Oh no, I don't think that would work.
Really?
Well, it might work because he does have that clueless look. He kind of does that, kind of look pretty good. But I mean, I don't know. I feel like it would be too, Ted Theodore Logan if he was doing that face.
And I think you do need Guy Pearce though, because he can.
I agree.
This guy's murdering people around the country, but he can get away with it because he's just a seemingly normal dude. With and then just the way he's able to have some malice to it, but also there's a general inquisitive to him, which I think is really interesting. Like I think people don't. Listen, this is a classic movie that people adore, but Guy Pearce really is wonderful in this movie. Like if he doesn't work, this movie doesn't work.
I agree.
Yeah. Yeah, he's very subtle, and I've talked a lot about how he comes off as very emotionless in a lot of ways. Like there's emotion, but he's good at not really outwardly conveying it. And in the few times that he does start to get emotional, like he starts to get angry, he's able to pull himself back to center very quickly, because this condition does, in a way, limit a lot of extreme emotions, because you don't have the time in order to work yourself up that much to these extreme emotions, because 5-10 minutes you're back to zero.
Oh, geez Louise. That's a lot to work with, isn't it, in this movie? And Guy Pearce did say the script was insane. And so just being able to trust the director and
yeah, Steven Tobolowsky, he mentioned, he had a funny story about getting the script, and he joked that it was like, most scripts are a minute a page, so around 100 pages, and this one was like 300 pages.
Oh man, I wouldn't even read it. Where are my pages? That's
just give me the ones you need. Who needs everything to fly coherently?
Look for Sammy and let me look at those things. Okay, good. I got it. I'm all set.
Yeah, and then this scene ends. There isn't really a whole lot. It really is just about, we covered the important part with him scratching out the access to drugs and replacing it with drug dealer. And I like how at the end of this scene, we get Leonard saying, now we're getting somewhere. Mm-hmm. Which I feel like that's, in a way, it's almost like a meta moment, because this movie is just under 2 hours, and this is pretty close to the halfway mark.
That's a great point.
Now we're finally... Do you think the audience is like, okay, good. Finally.
I wasn't. I definitely wasn't. My mother would have. Like you said your mom and your stepdad, is that what you said?
Yeah, they hated it.
Yeah, my mother hates it too. In fact, she talks about, she's like, when I recommend her a movie, she's like, don't tell me this is another one of your Memento movies. It's like, all right, Ma.
Another one of your Memento? Oh, yeah.
She hates them. The artsy fartsy movies, she calls them.
There's a movie called Irreversible, which I think you would love.
I need to see it then.
Wait, no, I'm joking. Don't watch Irreversible is insane.
Yeah, I don't know a whole lot about it. I know that I know two things about the movie. At least I'm pretty sure it's the movie. The movie
I know what this is. Okay.
Yeah. But it has a very intense assault scene.
Yeah, I know what this is now that I'm looking at it. Oh yeah.
It's just different with timey-wimey type stuff. It's kind of told in reverse. Yeah. So watch it when you're in a great mood.
Although it always it always reminds me, like, that kind of talk reminds me of our friend the Vern. He's mentioned more than once that almost like a comfort movie or a movie that he's seen multiple times is Requiem for a Dream.
Oh, Vern, that is an amazing film, though.
Oh, I mean, like the score, the performances. Oh. I mean, it does hit a certain transcendent note.
Yeah.
And it goes hard.
That's for sure.
But I mean, when Keith David pops up, when you get all those scenes, like I don't know if I could see that as catharsis.
Yeah, I always think about that, like, final scene. And it's like, because it's always on the tip of my tongue to be like, students or whatever, and they, bring up something or whatever. And I always, like, every now and then it comes up and I go, no, hold back on that one, because I think about that last scene and I'm like, I do not want to be the one who recommended this movie to a student. Not going there.
Yeah, well, let's bring it back around, because we're going to be... I mean, this is, definitely fun, but I don't want to be here all night.
Yeah, sorry.
As fun as it is, that's quite all right. But that does end my notes for this scene. Do either of you have anything else specifically for this scene?
I mean, we're getting going.
Just getting warmed up.
Not us.
There's always next
not
week.
Us. Not us. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Mark. We got you back here for 2 more weeks. But,
you're cursing that with all the editing. You can send them to me and I'll edit them for you. How's that sound?
Maybe I'm a bit too much of a control freak though. I don't think I think especially this show I wouldn't be able to hand off to somebody else. It's like I gotta have my hands all over everything, which is it's good for my co-hosts because they don't have to do anything except show up.
Enjoy.
But for anybody else that hasn't heard you before here, since this is your first time on this show, why don't you go ahead and take a moment and let them know about your other works and where they can find you online.
Oh, geez Louise. Just Movies, Films, and Flix. Mark Hofmeyer on Twitter, Movies, Films, and Flix on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. The podcast, Movies, Films on FLIX. We were just, where was that? I was just number one in a couple countries, but I forget what they were. They're pretty cool ones, too. India. I was just number one in India. My podcast, so that was pretty cool. Number 6 in Russia right now. Number 1 in Trinidad and Tobago, Gambia. It's doing well. The show's doing well. I'm also on Deep Blue Sea, the podcast with Jay Cluitt. I'm also on Con Air, the podcast with Jay Cluitt. And then I write and do videos for Rotten Tomatoes. I also work for Screen Junkies. When Honest Trailers come out, I do a thing called By the Numbers, which it's a video series that releases sometimes with the Honest Trailers. And then I write for Film Theory, Game Theory, Style Theory, and Food Theory, which is the YouTube channels. So you can check out my videos with them as well.
Good grief. Do you sleep?
No, I never sleep. And I'm always tired.
I'm right there with you, especially this past couple months. But yeah, anyways, Lisa, as always, thank you for joining me as my co-host through this season.
It's been a great journey. I'm enjoying it. Let's get through the second half.
All right. And as always, I am Bubbawheat, and you can find me on Twitter where I'm at Bubbawheat. And you can find this show, It's Time to Rewind, on Spotify for podcasters. As you're listening to this, the changeover has happened a few months ago, but as we're recording it, the changeover from Anchor to Spotify for podcasters had just happened, so I have to
go back and edit everything.
Yeah, pretty much. But you can also find it on all the other podcatchers, and we also have a Facebook group, It's Time to Rewind, a time loop group. Hopefully they're not changing that to Meta yet. I know the company's called Meta now, but hopefully they don't change Facebook to Meta. Otherwise that'll be annoying too. But we have a group, and you can join that and discuss episodes as they come out, as well as have discussions about other time loop movies and TV episodes and other stories. And until next time, I assume I've already told you about Memento.
Only every time I see you.
Now we're getting somewhere.